Welcome to the day 2 of the 7th SHRM India Annual Conference 2018, presented by Aditya Birla Capital and powered by Indeed. I am Neha Pant from the Knowledge and Advisory team at SHRM India, and I would like to thank all those of you who were here yesterday and made our day 1 super successful. Those of you who are here today, I welcome you all as well. Please download the SHRM India Annual Conference app to tune into today's activities, participate in polls, quizzes, and various contests that we will run during the course of the day today. Hashtag SHRM IAC 18 is our hashtag for the conference. Don't forget to use it while you tweet. We had an action-packed day yesterday. How about we watch a quick recap of what happened yesterday? Can we have the video, please?
Welcome to Delhi and to our 7th SHRM India Annual Conference and Exposition.
You are here today because you believe that a key element of success for you and your business is continuous learning.
How you can continue to thrive, or what we'll call how you can continue to be a high performer.
I also lead the ERG of my organization, which works for the strengthening of the LGBTI+ community.
In the interests of the middle class itself, you'll be surprised how big a market rural India is.
So you're a fan of Amitabh Bachchan?
तुम्हारा नाम क्या है बसंती?
कितने आदमी थे वो?
The winner for excellence in diversity and inclusion, AG's Customer Support Services Private Limited.
Excellence in Talent Acquisition runner-up is Adobe Systems India Private Limited.
In Learning and Development winner, Tata Consultancy Services Limited.
Make some noise, put your hands together for the winners.
All right, so that's what yesterday looked like. Today has a lot of excitement and insight to offer too. Our today's keynote speaker, Sonam Wangchuk, is a mechanical engineer by education and is famous for his work in education reforms for more than 27 years. In 1988, just after he finished his engineering studies, he founded SECMOL, Students' Educational and Cultural Movement of Ladakh, which aims to bring reforms in the government school system in Ladakh. His artificial glaciers, also called ice stupas, are one of his many innovations. He recently won the prestigious Magsaysay Award. Let's watch this overview video to learn more.
I've never let my schooling interfere with my education, so said Mark Twain. How about you? Do you miss your school or college days? You perhaps do, but perhaps not for the classrooms and teachings. You actually perhaps wished every day that the school be closed the next day so you could stay home. But here's a school in Ladakh where the most dreaded punishment is to be sent home for 2 weeks, where students learn by doing things, where they engage in various innovations to solve real-life problems like climate change, where they run the school themselves like a little country with an elected government and learn management and governance that way, where they learn communication by running the campus newspaper and radio, science by designing and building their own school, solar-heated mud buildings that stay at +15 even when -15 winters. kindness and compassion through introspection and meditation. A school where the criteria of admission is not your percentage, but that the conventional system has failed you. Hi, I'm Sonam Wangchuk from Ladakh, a remote mountain region in the Indian Himalayas. 25 years ago, when I was finishing my own engineering education, I saw that schools were a pain for everyone. But for mountain children, it was doubly painful and irrelevant. Children who spoke Ladakhi or Tibetan at home were made to sit all day memorizing in alien languages like Urdu or English. F for fan, S for ship, T for train. Till recently, every year, 95% of the students used to fail in the all-important 10th grade exams. Together with like-minded friends, we launched SECMOL, the Students' Educational and Cultural Movement of Ladakh, and said enough is enough. Working with the government, we rewrote many textbooks, retrained the teachers, and organized the villagers. And the results started changing too. For those who still failed, we started the alternative school that you just saw. And the results? Tewang Rigzin went on to become a top journalist and later became the education minister of Ladakh Hill Council at 27. He had failed his 10th grade 5 times. Stanzin became a filmmaker and has been winning awards across countries. He had failed 4 times. Miss Tinless is today a celebrated social entrepreneur. She had failed 3 times. But now we see that the state of higher education is no better. Not only for Ladakhis, who of course are doubly disadvantaged again, but for you in the big cities too. It's time we change this. We in Ladakh are dreaming again. This time our dream is to create an alternative university that will use all our learnings from the past 25 years. Once again, a hands-on doers university, where the School of Business runs real-life companies on campus. The School of Tourism runs high-end hotels and simple homestays. The School of Education runs innovative schools. The revenues from these sustain the university while the students get free higher education and of course hands-on experience. But this is more than a dream now. His Holiness Chetsang Rinpoche, one of the top spiritual leaders in Tibetan Buddhism after His Holiness the Dalai Lama, is supporting this cause as the chief patron. The Hill Council government of Ladakh has earmarked roughly 200 acres of land, and the Ice Stupa artificial glaciers have already started greening this desert. A fully solar-heated, mud-built university township is being planned by some of India's top architects. Together, let's start the next learning revolution, where education is not limited to just the 3 R's, all too much to do with the head alone, where skills of the hands and kindness of the heart are given equal importance. Sure, it would take significant financial resources to materialize this ambitious dream. Recently, I was awarded the prestigious Rolex Award for Enterprise for the Ice Stupa artificial glaciers.
Sonam Wangchuk.
I contribute my Rolex Award as a seed for this cause. Thank you very much. I've decided to contribute the roughly 1 crore rupees as a seed fund to finally raise 150 crore rupees for the first phase of the project. And I very much hope that you all will join me and match this contribution according to your capacities. Together, we can change the face of higher education forever, not just for Ladakh, but for the whole world. So join us. The future has already begun.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a bit of a situation with Sonam, who is at the Delhi airport right now, and is not able to make it to the venue. We, however, have managed to connect with him virtually. Could we give him a big round of applause, please?
Hello, can you hear me all? Yeah? Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. I can't tell you how happy I am to be joining you digitally. It has been quite a challenge, so finally I'm happy, but not so happy that I could not join you physically. I was very much hoping to be with you yesterday, but yesterday happened to be our very big day, the 30th anniversary of SECMOL, which was scheduled to be on 9th, but the governor of Jammu and Kashmir gave us finally the date 11th, and it clashed, and I had to do all this circus to somehow connect to you, and here I am today from this airport. Yet I'm very happy and hopeful that this is not the end. I very much hope to see you all next time. Are you with me? Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I bring you greetings from the mountains of Ladakh, where I grew up and where I learned from our ancestors what innovation is all about, even if not, mechanical, scientific, rocket science innovation. But growing up in Ladakh was a immersion in people's innovation that has developed over centuries and millennia, and yet often we don't even look at them as innovation. So I'll give you an example of what I grew up seeing. You all may have heard and seen that Ladakh is a very cold, difficult place. And yet our ancestors had to deal with it, and how they dealt with it was not burning all the trees or oil they had to make winters comfortable, but they actually had a system whereby houses were heated by the animals who would live on the ground floor, and the top floor will get the heat of the animals. But that smaller thing. What was more important was the whole winter was punctuated by all the colorful festivals of Ladakh at every monastery, all villages, one by one, throughout the winter, they would have festivals. So the young people would almost count away the winter from festival to festival. Yet, come spring, when the first greens come out, and no festivals, no storytelling. Yeah, another very important aspect of passing winters in Ladakh was winters were for stories, grandmas telling the kids stories, and that would happen only in winters. The first greens come out, and it's a sin to tell stories and to have festivals. I could slowly understand that this was actually a very good design, because once the greens come out, that's when people should be working. And in Ladakh, the summer is short, and you have to work for the whole year in that short summer. So no stories, no festivities, because the whole environment in summer is festive, colorful anyway. And then when winter came, there would be festivals everywhere, music, dance at monasteries, and storytelling. So this was a very interesting innovation I learned, that our ancestors had designed the living with the rhythm of nature so that you could pass the winter in very interesting, colorful ways. Similarly, farming in the mountains is very challenging, drudgery, some may call. But again, the farming that happened in Ladakh is so very interesting, I observed as I grew up. Every step in farming, from plowing to winnowing, is accompanied by a whistle or a song in praise of the animals, and rhythms that go with the harvest and so on. So when you accompany even harsh physical work with whistles and music, I don't have now, but I would very much like to show what colorful festive picnic work becomes when you have a music accompanying and when work becomes almost like a dance. And that innovation to me was more interesting than the combine harvesters and the tractors of the West, where you have made it very easy to work, but the person inside the combine harvester is actually very lonely and sad and sometimes depressed. That's definitely not the case when Ladakhi farmers come together and celebrate farming, even the drudgery, making it into a dance. Now that inspired me as I grew up, and I was always, looking towards making things simple without complicating the process of making simple. Sometimes we use methods which are more complicated than the problem that we are set out to solve. And that's what is happening a lot in this world. And that's why the planet has come to this state. So I went through my education in Ladakh initially, where it was, I'm sorry, it is a little noisy here, where my schooling luckily didn't start till rather late. I actually went to school only at 8.5. So I had a great time observing all this in our village and surroundings, how our people, made life possible and actually thriving, more than survive, thriving in these harshnesses because of these approaches to life, I would say. Till 8.5, I was playing with the animals, and I always like to joke and say, when my friends who went to school were studying what is root, shoot, and leaf from pages of a book, I was actually sowing a seed and seeing the roots go down and shoots come up and leaves unfurl without having to deal with LEAF leaf and LEAVES leaves, all these mumbo jumbo that actually hinder our grasp of concepts, in the words and spellings. So I was very lucky that I could actually learn from my own mother, in the absence of a school, luckily, in my own mother tongue. And that's so important for children to get to grasp the world around them in their own mother tongue, this tool that they develop right from the womb of the mother, rather than made to give up all of those and pick up another set of tools called English or some other language for schooling. I mean, that way I was one of the luckiest ones, I feel. In any case, I then was sent to a school, and I feel where my true learning really stopped. Was more a learning experience before school than after school. But much later, I cut it short. In 11th grade, I developed a great liking for the chapter in science on light and optics, lenses and mirrors. That's when I wanted to study more and find methods to use these lenses and mirrors to redirect sunlight so we can grow, vegetables in cellars in cold regions like Ladakh. And that's when I decided to study mechanical engineering. But that was not what my father was happy about. He wanted me to do civil engineering, where there is more scope in the mountains. So on this difference, I had to part ways because he said, if you do that, you will do it on your own. I cannot support you. So the rebel in me stood up and said, thank you very much. And I decided to, earn my own expenses. And to do that, I went and started teaching young people science and maths in their 10th grade. And in Ladakh, in those days, children used to fail in large numbers. In the mountains, the books don't make much sense. The books from the plains with A for apple, B. Hello.
Sonam, can you hear us?
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm back again. So I was just saying how I happened to choose mechanical engineering, and for that, can you hear me? Okay, great. I had to teach, and teaching was my biggest learning again, because there I learned the problems that the children were facing in education. They were blamed for failing en masse. But actually, I found that there was nothing wrong with them. Everything was really wrong with the system, which made them learn things that made no sense for a place like Ladakh in the mountains. So I got moved and thought we should change this system of education. I mean, okay, engineering was great, but there's more to life than what I need, is what I felt. What is important is what needs me more than what I need. So instead of adding another engineer to the long queues, I opted to go back to Ladakh and work in education. And there again, after teaching 10th grade students for a while, I thought this was not going to work because the source which produces students failing will continue. Decided to do something that will change things at the very root where students break with a system that is not suitable for them in the mountains. And that's when we started a much bigger campaign together with the government to reform the government school system in the villages. This was called Operation New Hope. And it was about teaching, training all the teachers, organizing all the village people to form committees and have a louder voice than they can have individually to demand quality education from the government. And then bringing reforms in all the school textbooks. So we rewrote the textbooks in Ladakhi schools to reflect the local environment and local challenges, because in education they say it's about from local to global, from known to unknown. And therefore our schools were anything but known to unknown. We would start with like the minarets of Pisa and then come to Qutub Minar and then maybe not even learn about the Palace of Leh or so. So this confused the children. So therefore we started changing everything from books to teacher training to village leadership and so on. Very soon the results, as you saw in the little film that was shown, started changing to 75%. Now we started working with the failures, and failures are amazing people because they are grounded. Sometimes I feel success is more a hindrance. You know, you have a bit of arrogance and a lot of fear of failing. And when you have fear of failing, you don't do things that are daring, that stretch the limits. People who are failures don't have much to lose anyway. Like we say in Hindi, बेइज्जती उनकी होती है जिनकी इज्जत होती है. So those who have failed are often actually much more daring than others. And that's why perhaps we don't find great entrepreneurs from these reputed institutes like IIMs. They actually work for those crazy people who may have not done well in their schools, but are empires. So these we found were very interesting bunch of people, those who had failed. And for them, we started a special school actually to support those who still failed in the system. This is a very interesting school, which you just saw, where the criteria of admission is actually that you have failed in the exams, not your grades, not your percentage. If you have, then you may be on the waiting list for a change. But if you have failed, you are very likely, and you have a fire, and not just failure, but a fire, a passion to do something. So some of these students went on to do great things. And more than that, together with these students, we started innovating different ways of solving problems, like solar energy that the campus is run on. But again, solar energy or innovation in that need not be about materials and gadgets and so on. My belief always has been that innovation is beautiful when it is at its simplest, when there is nothing moving, nothing whirring, and yet works. And therefore you will see that most of my work is about things that are very simple yet functional. So the buildings you see, the solar buildings in minus 20, 30 Ladakh, use nothing but high school science of convection, conduction, radiation to make the buildings warm. The sun heats the greenhouse, which makes hot air, which rises and delivers its heat to the walls, and that, when trapped in the windows, heats the room. There you see convection, there you see conduction, there you see radiation. So students get to learn what science is about, and they get to see the effect by spending a happy night sleeping warm. So those are without any moving parts, without any power bills, all by natural cycles. Similarly, people ask me at this campus, you have so many solar gadgets, what is your favorite? And what I say or have to say is that my favorite gadget doesn't have anything moving, anything touchable, it's not even visible. It is our campus's campus standard time, which is 1 hour ahead of the Indian standard time. And why 1 hour ahead? Well, this is the simplest way to put teenagers to sleep early in the night and make them wake up early with sunrise. Because the best solar lighting is not what we get from photovoltaic devices, but what we get from windows at 5:30 in the morning. So that's how we use solar lighting from the windows, by waking up early, and this is something that everybody can do. I'm afraid I may have to stop here. I was just saying about how innovation can be without mechanisms. Yes. My colleague, Mr. Dilip Jain, who has been a founding member with us in starting the Himalayan Institute of Alternatives, this alternative university, will be soon with you to take questions and interact with you on behalf of our organization and the university. Just to say that we need to make innovation a part of life without making a big deal in life. Simpler the better. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Sonam, and good morning to all of you. I think because of some logistical issues, Sonam could not be here. Governor was there in Ladakh yesterday, and we had to reschedule the program. But anyways, I can take question answers, or if there are some areas where you want me to get into a little deeper, I can talk about those as well. So, yeah, open for the questions. So the SECMOL school has been operational for the last 30 years, which is primarily for failures. What we have seen is that while the school education is fine, but at the higher level, the education is equally irrelevant in most part of the country, and especially Ladakh, where there are no universities. So we are trying to establish a university which will be practical, hands-on, solving real-life problems and completely environment-friendly. So we started work on the university 3 years back after the success of Istupa Glacier. That's where we conceptualized to build this university and did a big crowdfunding campaign, which was not just crowdfunding of money, but even crowdfunding of resources. And Hill Development Council of Ladakh allotted us 125 acres of land to set up this university. This will be a unique university where the entire university will be fed by glacier waters, built with passive solar houses that Sonam would have talked about, and fed by glaciers and built by the students themselves. Rather than getting a lot of architects and contractors, the students would design the university and gradually, organically build it. That will be part of their learning. So the university is conceptualized on the funda that 70% would be practical hands-on doing and 30% theory. And we would not work on a degree. Degree can be an added thing, but it's not for degree. So the courses that we would have in the initial year, which we are launching next year, is sustainable tourism, sustainable habitat, entrepreneurship, and environment conservation. So these are the real life projects that students will be doing in this village where we are setting up the university, and thereby learning. And when they go back to their village or in the mountain areas, they can work on those areas. Yeah, so many people ask Sonam about this, and his answer is that I can do what I can do in the place where I am based. And each region is different with its different context, culture, geographical conditions. So we can share our thoughts, our ideas, our methods, but we cannot come to Bombay and work on solving problems of oceans or so on. So the ideals are there, but in terms of we going and doing it, I don't see that happening. But what Sonam is doing otherwise is sharing his ideas so that people can understand and maybe adapt it to their geographies and do whatever best they can. But our focus is Ladakh for the time being.